Sorry, I was chewing a chip and it just ended. Hey, I'm Skip Alsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films and are shocked by the how hazardous some of this stuff was. This was all stunts, publicity stunts. And man, what an amazing hodgepodge of people threatening their lives and their livelihood. All right, let's listen to what Barry Goldwater has to say about it all.
The election campaign's in full swing in New Hampshire, bellwether state of the nation, that goes to the polls on March 10th to cast its vote. There are parades and rallies in the Granite State out on the issues as he sees them.
I've never seen so many frustrated people as we have around Washington. They're frustrated mostly because they haven't any faith in the American system. They've lost confidence in the Constitution. They've lost confidence in the fact that a strong nation has to be strong, has to show its strength, and has to let its enemies know what they're going to do. The question in my mind is, how can you prevent war with policies that are making communist countries content with communism, or foreign aid policies that are making them even more content? And at the same time, by feeding and clothing his friends, while denying your friends the means to help protect you. You can't stop him by letting him edge up closer and closer to you, as he's doing right now. Now, I firmly believe that the only way to secure the peace without war is to pile on the economic pressures that will disrupt the enemy, lose him his friends, and confront him with a united and a determined NATO. Now, this leads me up to the subject of peace. Since President Eisenhower left office, our foreign policy position has deteriorated until today we watch almost daily the slippage of the United States around the world as more and more and more countries begin to disbelieve us, begin to distrust us, and begin to look elsewhere for the leadership that must be portrayed if peace is to be obtained and maintained in this world.
Here again on the same subject, foreign policy.
Foreign policy is far and away the greatest interest. I would say that it ranks probably 8 to 10 times above the next issue that seems to be on the minds of the people of New Hampshire. Now, you'd normally expect more interest on the eastern seaboard in this subject, but I find on the West Coast and in the Rocky Mountains and the Middle West this same concern for what's happening to America around the world. And I find a great and growing desire to see a change that will result in a foreign policy that can guarantee peace in this world for our lifetime and the lifetime of our children and our grandchildren. I want to see this country reach the point that the only escape other than surrender to slavery is a war. I think with proper guidance, I think with sensible guidance, with courage, not cowardice, with firmness, not weakness, that we can contribute to the peace that will keep these children and grandchildren at peace and comfort during their lives.
It's just a short hop by plane from Washington to New Hampshire, and Barry Goldwater's made the trip many times in the last month. He puts the flying time to good use, keeping up with national affairs and his many responsibilities in the Senate. Now, they came out in droves to hear what this candidate had to say, and he spoke out on foreign policy, Social Security, communism, foreign aid, the United Nations, Cuba. Wherever he went, he faced the same issues, the same questions, and he answered them the same way. He told the people he supported Social Security, but he was concerned that inflation would devalue their Social Security dollar. He told the people only a strong nation cannot assure peace. He called for personal responsibility in government at the local level, because Barry Goldwater wants to give the government back to the people. He called for a re-examination of the UN Charter. Listen now as he speaks out on the UN.
When you set up a charter by which you're going to live in an organization, particularly an organization like the United Nations devoted to peace, and you violate what I believe to be two of the important covenants, namely you're not going to engage in aggression, nor are you going to interfere in the internal workings of a country, then you have become dishonest, and we would not have done this, in my opinion, had we not been imposed upon to do it by the other nations in the United Nations who see no wrong in violating the Charter. This is the same, we get into the same position when we argue about Red China coming in the United Nations. The Charter very clearly says no aggressor nation shall belong to the United Nations. We already have Russia, and to me it's an academic argument. We say they can't come in, so if we say that, Red China can't be admitted. But you and I know that the chances are pretty good for their being admitted. This is one of the reasons that I have repeatedly suggested that the United Nations meet for a charter revision.
And now the people of New Hampshire speak out for Barry Goldwater.
Well, I just had the pleasure of shaking hands with our next president, I'm pretty sure. I like his plan, and I like his way of speaking, and I think he's going to keep his promises, his campaign promises.
Go on.
And I know one thing, he won't be a yes man for any party.
Well, I don't think of him so much really as a politician, but just as a man. I'm very impressed with him.
I'm extremely proud that we have an American with guts enough to put America back where it belongs.
I'm opposed to foreign aid, economic aid. I've never voted for it since I've been in the Senate, and I wouldn't even if they divide it into the three components that foreign aid is made up of as we mention it. We have military assistance, which I think is the best program we have. This is teaching other people how to do things with their hands that we can do. But foreign economic aid, since the Marshall Plan, has not, in my opinion, bought us any friends, and I don't think you can buy friendship. I can't buy yours, and you can't buy mine. But if you show me how to do something that you know how to do that makes you live better than I do, I'm going to be your friend. And that's the way I think we should be proceeding. If we have to have foreign aid, if we can't live without it, and I think we can, then why not try a multilateral approach where some other countries get in the act?
And they're getting to know him and his family. Here's his younger daughter, Peggy. They call her Little Peggy. And his younger son, Mike. It's because he's a devoted family man that Barry Goldwater entered the presidential race. Because he believes so strongly in a free America. Because he's dedicated to preserving the peace for all American families. Wherever he goes, he speaks out, clearly and forcefully on the issues, answers questions, explains exactly where he stands on domestic and foreign policy. Everywhere he goes, the people are responding with enthusiasm for this new and different courage and integrity in meeting problems. He's calling for an end to do-nothing policies, for progress based on the dynamic principles of the Republic. He's calling for a rebirth of individual freedom.
We put our reliance upon freedom, upon the free enterprise system. We reject, therefore, the ideas of the economic planners in Washington that a group of people sitting in Washington can plan what the country is going to make, where it's to be made, the quality of the product, the price of the product, the wages to be paid, the profit to be made, etc., etc. We know that this system, which in simpler terms is called socialism, has never worked in the history of the earth and is not working today in countries where it's been tried. Thank you very much.
This is a pleasure. I hope you make it.
Thank you very much.
Read your book, agreed with you long ago.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
How do you do?
Hi, how are you?
Well, I think Mr. Goldwater is the man that we need. I think this country has gone away from the principles on which it was founded, and I think he's the man that will bring us back to the days of free enterprise and the vigor and youth that this country had and the enthusiasm that the people had
as far as I'm concerned, he's the only man that should be president because he is the only man who stands for something.
I think he's the federal Constitution.
Social Security is a contract between the federal government and you. And when I say you, it's all of we American people who pay Social Security. I don't believe in breaking contracts, and neither does the government. And I have never at any time advocating doing away with Social Security. Now, what I am concerned about, though, and I wish there were more of us in the Senate like North, is the fact that you, all of us, paying our money in, paying our dollars into Social Security, when we get to the age greater decrease with more and more inflation. Now, I don't believe in inflation, and I don't think we need to have unusual inflation in this country. But to invite for doing, this is what I'm trying to talk about in Social Security. I'm trying to get the older people and the younger people to realize that if this kind of wasteful expenditure continues in our government, that when it comes time for them to get their Social Security, they're not going to do too well. And I don't think you have to go further than to ask the recipient today of Social Security if they're living very high off the hog. And they're not. I remember when I first went to work, I read an ad in a magazine that's long since out of business, retire on $125 a month. And they had a picture of a man and his wife sitting under a palm tree or an orange tree in Florida. So I bought one. It's all paid up. And when I get to be 65, I can retire on $125 a month. Trouble is, that won't even buy an orange tree.
Here in Exeter, New Hampshire, and in towns all over the state, a groundswell of support for Goldwater's ideal of individual freedom and growing support for Goldwater, the man. To take a brief rest. But after a quick nap, his great strength and vitality are refreshed, renewed, urging the voters to get out and vote, to vote for individual freedom on March the 10th.
Your state, and why I attach so much importance to the vote on March the 10th, and why I urge you, along with Norris and Stewart and the others, to get out on that day and get your friends to the poll and make your vote count.
Barry Goldwater urges you to take a fresh look at American policy, at home and abroad. For an American victory in 1964, vote for Barry Goldwater.
Wow. Yeah. So that came from the Oregon archive. My friend Greg came down with 200 to 300 films and scanned a bunch of them. And he actually left me with some to scan. And he actually left and gave me some films. So there you go. Yeah, Barry Goldwater. That was an interesting time, mid-'60s. And we know how that all played out. So this next film, I can't remember. Oh, wait, no. This next film is Canadian. Did we show it? See, for some reason, like, my notes are not really good. And maybe it's I just listened to it. We're in this realm where I showed some stuff and some stuff I uploaded. Oh, yeah, maybe this has already been shown. Okay. All right. So this next film, let me know if I've shown this recently, because I feel like I have, but I don't see any evidence of it on YouTube or in my notes, and it's awesome. So this is driving tips to avoid accidents. If I have shown it, just let me know in the comments and we'll stop it and we'll play something that I haven't shown. All right, enjoy.
I knew I should have stayed in bed. Now it's an hour on the freeway. All those crazy drivers. Bumper-to-bumper traffic. Smog. stalled cars that make you lose your control and do something that's better.
Good. You know that a healthy arriving at your destination safely. When you have the proper attitude, you're confident, in control. Your mind is clear and alert. You're ready to drive. Alertness is many things. It's keeping your eyes constantly on the move, taking in all that's going on around you, ahead, behind, and on both sides. Alertness is concentrating on your driving and not being distracted to look at things, daydream, or fiddle with something on the front seat. Alertness means anticipating emergency situations and being prepared to deal with them with a clear head. And being alert means knowing the safest ways to carry out everyday driving maneuvers, like crossing intersections or making turns. A good place to learn about the proper driving maneuvers is your local Department of Motor Vehicles. There you can get booklets that will tell you the traffic rules and safety laws you need to know. Then when driving, remember that there are certain major where most accidents occur. We'd like to show you some of these trouble spots and give you some suggestions on how you can prevent these accidents from happening to you. The key word to remember when approaching an intersection without stop signs or signals is caution. Taking your foot off the gas and coasting is not enough. In an emergency, you may not be able to get your foot on the brake in time. So, instead, about 3 car lengths before the intersection, put your foot on the brake and gradually slow down. Look up the street to your left to make sure nothing is coming, and look to your right. Your view may be blocked, so don't let up on the brake until you are in the intersection and can see that it's safe. When the intersection is clear, step lightly on the gas and proceed through. Even if there is a stop sign at the intersection, the danger of accidents is still there. After you've stopped at the crosswalk, proceed out cautiously till you can see that the street is clear in both directions. Then, check again to your left to see that there is still nothing coming. If the left side was clear at one time, we can't assume it will still be clear a few moments later. If you're making a left turn, keep your car parallel within the lane so that your rear and front ends are not sticking out into traffic. Don't turn part way into the intersection expecting other cars to stop for you. They have the right of way. And keep your wheels straight. If they're turned and you're hit from behind, you could be shoved right out into the path of oncoming traffic. Once the intersection is clear, you're free to make your move. Crossing an intersection or making a turn at a traffic signal presents us with another set of problems. Again, the watchwords are be prepared. If you're waiting for a green light, don't start up immediately after it turns. Someone might be trying to gun it through the light from another direction. Instead, when the light changes, count to 3. This will give you time to make sure the intersection is free and clear. Taking these few extra moments of caution at the light is especially important if you're behind another vehicle. If Richard hadn't waited, he might have rear-ended the other car when it stopped suddenly. So remember, take care when starting up at a light. When approaching a green light, treat it as if it were about to turn yellow. Treat it with respect. Then you won't try to stretch it if the light turns. If you're following another car toward a signal that has just turned yellow, assume that the other driver is going to stop. Be prepared with your foot on the brake till you're certain what the other driver is going to do. Whatever the situation, when approaching an intersection with stop signals or without, consider all the possibilities and act safely and accordingly. Preventing accidents means always knowing what's going on around you. In front, behind, and on both sides. So whether pulling out from a parking space, passing, or changing lanes, check your mirrors. Then look back and toward the side to which you plan to move. This is necessary because cars have blind spots, areas to the right rear side and left rear side which cannot be seen in the mirrors or in your forward field of vision. So it's best not to make your move until you can double check by looking back. Dawn and twilight are probably the most difficult times of the day to see what's going on around you. Low sun can be blinding. And just after the sun is down, there are no sharp outlines or shadows. Everything blends into gray. So at these times, use your headlights, reduce your speed, and drive with extra caution. And at all times, just as you should know what other people are doing, they should know what you are doing. This means using your turn signals and hand signals before you make a move. The safety rules we've mentioned apply even more when you're driving at high speeds on the freeway. When merging onto the freeway, signal and look for a clear space. Once you've found that space, accelerate to traffic speed and move on. Do this smoothly. Slowing down or stopping can be extremely dangerous. Once safely in lane, obey the speed limit and move with the flow of traffic. No faster, no slower. Don't move over into the faster lanes immediately. First, see what the other traffic is doing. Then, use your turn signal and find an opening, making sure that no other driver is heading for that same spot. When changing lanes, remember the flow of traffic. It's unsafe to move to a faster lane and then slow down, forcing others behind you to slow down too. No matter what speed you drive, always keep a safe distance between you and the car ahead. One guideline is to keep a distance of 1 car length for every 10 miles an hour you're going. For example, If you're going 30 miles an hour, keep about 3 car lengths between you and the car ahead. You can also figure this safety distance in seconds, keeping at least a 2-second distance between you and the car in front. It's easy to estimate this 2-second distance. Watch the car ahead until it passes a landmark like a signpost or a shadow or that overpass ahead. Then count. 1001, 1002, there. If you reach the landmark by the time you say 2, you're a safe 2 seconds distance from the car ahead. The advantage to maintaining the safety distance in this way is that you don't have to guess how long a car length is. And this method automatically adjusts your safety distance to the speed you're driving. At 55 miles per hour, the 2-second distance is about like this. At 30 miles an hour, it's like this. Both are safe distances for stopping in an emergency. If someone cuts in front of you, don't let it bother you. Keep your distance. You've only lost 2 seconds of driving time, and it would take 30 such intrusions before you lost even 1 minute. Even if you're maintaining a safe distance between you and the car ahead, the high speeds and monotonous nature of freeway driving require you to be especially alert and in control. Avoid highway hypnosis by keeping your eyes moving. Watch your mirrors and drive ahead, being constantly on the lookout for danger signals, brake lights flashing on, unexpected lane changes, and the blue smoke of skidding tires. This way, you can anticipate emergencies and prevent them from happening. When you wish to leave the freeway, know well in advance which exit you want to take. Watch the signs so you'll know your exit is coming up. This way, you can avoid cutting across traffic and making dangerous last-minute lane changes. You might be surprised to know that nearly 3 times as many motor vehicle deaths occur on rural roads as in busy urban areas. People travel at high speeds. Roads are not always divided, and there are fewer danger signals to keep you on your toes. When you're cruising along a country road that stretches out for miles, it's easy to be lulled into a false sense of security. That is, until something happens. Driving on undivided roads, in or out of the country, requires you to be extra alert and even more in control. Keep a firm grip on your steering wheel and stay as far to the right as possible to avoid head-on collisions with cars that may cross over into your lane. This is especially important on hills and curves where your vision is limited and you never know what you might encounter ahead. If you wish to pass another vehicle, the watchwords are patience and judgment. Don't get anxious. Remember, you're in charge. Before making a move, assess the situation. First, make sure the lines on the road permit you to pass. Then, check the speed of your car, the speed of the car ahead, and the space to move back into the lane once you've passed. And finally, pass only when you're sure the road ahead is clear for a good distance. If there's any question at all, don't pass. It's better to lose a little time than to risk a serious accident. City or country, there are as many tips for safe driving as there are driving situations. Anything can happen, but the chances of an accident are less likely if you'll follow these 3 basic guidelines. 1, when driving, have the proper attitude. 2, be alert. And 3, learn the everyday driving maneuvers till they become second nature. Approach intersections with caution. When making a left turn, stay parallel with the lane and keep your wheels straight. At traffic signals, don't jump the gun. And be prepared when the light changes. Know what's going on around you at all times and let others know what you are doing. Merge onto the freeway smoothly. Obey the speed limit. Driving on undivided roads, stay as far to the right as possible to avoid oncoming cars. And when passing, do so only when it's safe and the road ahead is clear for a good distance. Follow these tips and you'll be well prepared to handle the responsibility of driving. You'll be looking out for your own safety and the safety of others. And that's what driving to prevent accidents is all about.
Yeah, so I'm going to obscure that. There is surgery footage happening. I'm scanning. I was like, what's going on now? And it's like, oh, they're just slicing open someone's abdomen. Good times. Good times. All right, let's see what do we have? Yeah, I was going to show this, but I've already shown it. So let me find something else that's equally as good. So many things, yes. All right, I've wanted to show this. I'm a big fan of niche programming, and so this is definitely niche. This is about the maintenance and care of a tractor. Enjoy.
The tractor can give long, economical service only when it is given proper care. To keep repairs at a minimum, all parts must be thoroughly checked at regular intervals, and the proper oils, greases, and fuels must be used. A tractor is a piece of fine machinery, but the service it will give depends on the care exercised in its maintenance. An owner's manual of instructions is furnished with every tractor. Study it. Follow it step by step. After every 10 hours of operation, or at the end of every day of use, your manual will suggest inspection of the air cleaner cap to remove dirt or chaff from it. Be sure the screen in the cap is kept free from all chaff or dirt, as clogged holes in the screen will reduce engine power by restricting the flow of air. Daily attention must also be given to the air cleaner oil cup to ensure clean air for combustion. Remove the cup and pour out the dirty oil. Clean the cup thoroughly in kerosene. Refill the cup to the oil level bead with the same grade of oil used in the engine crankcase. Clamp it securely in place. The oil level in the crankcase should be checked daily. For operating on distillate, open the lower petcock in the crankcase and allow the oil to drain down to this point. Then close the lower petcock and open the upper one. Fill the crankcase with fresh oil until it appears at the upper petcock. Close the petcock. And replace the oil cap securely. The oil level for operating on gasoline is checked differently. Open the upper petcock. And fill the crankcase until the oil appears at this point. This difference in checking oil levels is due to the greater dilution of the oil by the use of the lower grade fuel. Water pump lubrication after every 10 hours of operation is very important. Some pumps require a special hard grease which will not melt and mix with the hot water of the cooling system. Consult your manual to see which type grease you should use for your tractor. The rear axle bearings must be lubricated daily because these bearings support the rear axle and rapidly become worn if not lubricated frequently. Be sure to lubricate both bearings. Steering assembly lubrication after each day's operation prevents wear and makes the tractor easier to steer. Consult your manual for the proper method of lubricating such parts as the rear steering shaft bearing, the steering universal, the center shaft bearing, and the upper bolster pivot shaft. Most manuals call for daily lubrication of the clutch release shaft. This not only prevents wear of the shaft, but affords smoother, easier operation of the clutch. Starting crank bearing lubrication is recommended in most manuals every 10 hours because a dirty, worn, or sticky bearing at this point makes it difficult to turn the crank when starting the tractor. After 60 hours operation, or once a week, another group of maintenance items are suggested in your manual. The air cleaner should be removed and cleaned. Completely disassemble it. Wash the parts in kerosene. Be sure to clean the air intake pipe. Clean the oil cup. Fill the oil cup to the proper level with the specified grade of oil and replace it on the air cleaner. Make a regular weekly check of the carburetor air hose for loose fit or damage. If the air hose shows any signs of deterioration, it should be replaced. A worn or loose hose connection allows dirt to get into the engine. When installing a new air hose, be sure all joints are tight. The fan belt should be checked for tension after each 60 hours use. A loose fan belt allows the fan to slip, which causes the engine to overheat. Replace it if badly worn. The radiator fins or shutters should be cleaned out each week so they may serve their purpose of maintaining the proper engine temperature. Clogged up fins prevent the shutters from working freely and cause the engine to become overheated. The fan hub bearing must be lubricated weekly to prevent wear. A worn bearing allows the fan to become loose and wobbly, causing vibration which may result in its breaking and seriously damaging the radiator. The impulse coupling should be lubricated after every 60 hours of operation with a light oil such as cream separator or sewing machine oil. Apply the oil liberally. The clutch release bearing must be lubricated every 60 hours as instructed in your manual, or it will wear rapidly. When the clutch is released, considerable pressure is applied to the bearing to overcome the spring pressure, so it must be lubricated regularly. The clutch pilot bearing should also be lubricated every 60 hours, as instructed in the manual. After 120 hours operation of the tractor, careful attention should be given to the engine lubricating system. Replace the element in the oil filter and drain and change the oil in the crankcase. First, drain the dirty oil. Replace the drain plug. Then fill the crankcase with a good grade of flushing oil to help remove sludge and any remaining dirty oil. Be sure the tractor is not in gear. Start the motor and allow it to run long enough to circulate the oil well through the motor. Then drain the dirty flushing oil. The oil filter element, which takes out much of the foreign material that is being circulated in the oil, must be replaced each time the oil is changed. Fill the crankcase with new oil until it appears at the upper petcock. Close the petcock. Add an extra quart of oil to compensate for the oil that will remain in the filter system after the motor is started. Replace the oil cap and tighten it securely. After 250 hours operation, or about once a month, there are several important points to be checked. The fuel strainer and sediment bowl should be taken apart and cleaned at least every 30 days. With all shut-off valves closed, remove the sediment bowl and strainer. Clean the strainer and the bowl thoroughly. Next, disconnect the fuel line at the sediment bowl and at the carburetor. Remove the line and blow it out to remove any foreign matter that might obstruct the flow of the fuel. Be sure it's not damaged. Also, blow out the carburetor fuel screen to remove any dust particles or dirt. Be sure the fuel line is reconnected securely at the carburetor and at the sediment bowl. The spark plug should be removed every 250 hours for cleaning and checking of the gap. Care must be taken in using the wrench to avoid cracking the porcelain. Use a wire brush to clean the carbon from the spark plugs, as it is not apt to damage the porcelain and it readily removes the carbon. Consult your manual for the proper clearance of the points for the plugs on your tractor. When adjusting the clearance, always bend the outside wire. Too wide a gap will cause the engine to misfire, and too narrow a gap will cause poor idling of the engine. If the plugs look faulty, they should be replaced with new ones. A bad plug produces a weak spark. Use the wrench carefully to prevent cracking the porcelain. Be sure the cables are securely fastened to the plugs. The magneto breaker point should be inspected once a month according to the instructions in your manual. First, remove all dust from the chamber. Any scale or corrosion on the points can be filed off, but if the points are pitted, they must be removed and dressed by using a carborundum strip or an oil stone. With the points separated by the cam, the clearance should be 12 to 15 thousandths. After 400 hours of operation, most manuals suggest these points for checking. First, the cooling system should be drained and cleaned. Drain all the water from the radiator. Then drain the water from the block. Radiator scale can be loosened and dissolved by chemicals such as washing soda. Follow the instructions in your manual for cleaning the cooling system of your tractor. If a solution of washing soda and water is used, fill the radiator with the solution. Allow the solution to remain in the cooling system through 1 day's work, so it can be heated in order to loosen and dissolve the lime and scale. Then drain the solution from the radiator and the block. A clean cooling system prevents overheating, which results in loss of power and often valve trouble and other damage to the engine. Keep the radiator filled with rainwater if possible, as soft water does not scale as badly as hard water. In cold weather, consult your manual for the amount and type of antifreeze solution to use in the cooling system of your tractor. Engine valves should be checked for clearance after 400 hours. With the engine warmed up, remove the valve cover. Turn the engine over until the valve to be adjusted closes. Loosen the lock nut on the push rod. Then, using a thickness gauge, adjust the tappet to the clearance specified in the instruction manual. Tighten the lock nut when the adjustment is completed. Be careful when replacing the cover to see that no dirt is allowed to get into the working parts. Check the clutch pedal for free movement every 400 hours. In order to maintain the proper clearance between the clutch release bearing and the clutch release levers, the clutch pedal should have a free movement of about 1 inch. Consult your manual for the exact distance of free movement for your tractor. Also, check the brake pedals for free movement and equalization every 400 hours. Again, consult your manual for the amount of free movement recommended for your tractor. Both pedals should have the same amount of free movement to secure brake equalization. The distributor bearing should be lubricated after 400 hours. Fill the oil cup with very light oil. Do not oil this part more often, as excessive oil might work into the breaker point chamber, causing rapid point deterioration. There are several miscellaneous parts that should be lubricated after 400 hours operation. Use a few drops of engine oil on each moving part of the engine control linkage. Also, oil the moving parts of the clutch and brake pedal connections. After every 1,000 hours use, or at least once a year, these operations are recommended. First, the oil in the transmission case should be drained and changed. This safeguards against the accumulation of dust and metal particles in the transmission oil, which could cause damage to the moving parts. Refill the transmission with a good grade of oil. Be sure the transmission case is filled to the proper level as recommended in your tractor manual. The steering worm gear should be checked at least once a year. Use an approved lubricant and fill the worm gear housing until the lubricant covers the top of the sector. The front wheel bearings must be removed, cleaned, and repacked at least every 1,000 hours. Be sure to clean all the dirty grease from the bearings and races with kerosene. Use the lubricant specified in your manual for packing the bearings. Care should be taken to see that this operation is performed regularly because the front wheels operate under very dusty conditions and are subject to considerable wear. To secure maximum life and satisfactory performance from pneumatic tires, keep them properly inflated to the pressure shown in your manual at all times. Underinflation will damage tire cord body and may cause the tire to slip in the rim and tear out the tube valve stem. Overinflation results in excessive slippage, causing rapid tire wear. Remember, care for your tractor according to your operator's manual. It explains all maintenance requirements and routine adjustments which are necessary for the most efficient operation of your tractor and the protection of your tractor investment.
I know. You don't even have to tell me. That was a little too niche. But I love footage of hands doing stuff and you can see where Shake Hands with Danger comes by it honestly. You see that guy was lubricating a lot of things with his hand, sticking his hand in a lot of places. Probably should not have been sticking it. So, yeah. Anyways. So we watched that. Thanks for watching today. Very much appreciate your eyeballs and your comments and your thumbs ups. That's a great way to support us. Another way is, of course, via the super thanks button or going to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us as well. Because I just had to buy some artist tape and some leader. And leader is not cheap anymore. It used to be inexpensive, but it's like 1,000-foot reel is $120. So, yikes. And that's finding it at the cheapest place I can find it. So, anyways, your contributions, financially or spiritually, emotionally, all help. So thanks so much for that. And we'll see you tomorrow. Everybody take care. Have a great rest of your day.